Well, I tell you, Dr. Anderson, everybody knows that watches, my channel. They know that I have your books right here.
That's good.
I'm nearby because, it's almost like intellectual gold, because literally I just will randomly open up a page in Powernomics and read something I've never read before, or learn something I've never heard before, which really is unfortunate, because it really kind of says that we can go through school for 20 straight years, go through public school, university, grad school, and walk out uneducated. Because to me, being properly educated ain't just about learning a bunch of stuff. It's about learning the important stuff. And if you don't know nothing about your own people, nothing about your culture, nothing about your community, nothing about the society and the community and the group of people from which you came, then how can you build a community when you know nothing about your community? How can you build a culture when you don't even know what your culture is supposed to be? How can you, move forward and develop the Black community when you know nothing about being Black? And I think that really speaks to the fact that, it's not so much our brains are empty, it's that our brains are filled with all the wrong stuff. So instead of our minds becoming gold mines, filled with gold, it's like we become landfills, that are big and bulky and full of stuff, but it's of all the wrong stuff, and it's all a bunch of garbage, and it creates a bunch of nonsense, and it creates a bunch of dysfunctional, ridiculous, embarrassing, mentally ill behavior, even amongst our most educated. You can point to at least, I don't know if you know, Dr. Anderson, my friend Vicky Dillon, who she's with the Nation of Islam. She created this award. She calls it the Coon Award, the Meritorious Manumission Butter Biscuit Award, and you got a coon at the top. And she gives out this Coon Award every week to some Negro on TV who probably went to Harvard, who's out here cooning and looking ridiculous. So to me, what good is all that education if you're embarrassing your family, embarrassing your people, and just looking crazy because you've been filled with all these dysfunctional ideas? So that's why I love your books, because I feel like I'm being educated thoroughly on who I am for the first time in my life, and that's why I'm loyal to it. If you ever want to know why I'm so loyal to Dr. Anderson, is because I ain't read nothing like this nowhere else. I mean, I got Amos Wilson's The Blueprint for Black Power back there. I got a few other books, but I mean, this really took my brain to another level. Everybody else, tell me if you agree, if you've read any of these books. Dr. Anderson, I don't know if you have something to say in response to that at all.
You're right on top, right on point, on target. But what's great sadness is that and I guess most of our Blacks don't understand this. That's why I told you about the Black communities. Do you know that in this country there were no white historians in 400 and almost 60 years that would ever write anything tangible, specific, uplifting about Black folk? Did you know that? Nobody would publish it. The first time white folks started writing anything about Black folk in America, it then occurred about 1948, 1940s. And only a few Blacks have been able to squeeze a book out here and there, like W.B. Du Bois or G. Carter Woodson, or a couple other writers. They were able to squeeze out a few books. White folks didn't buy the books. They wouldn't publish books, wouldn't say anything positive about Black folk, because they control the minds by controlling the books. That's why one state legislator in South Carolina said, we're going to take all necessary means and measures to make sure that no light ever enters a Negro's mind, okay? A brain. But yet right now, in all the textbooks in school, outside of the Black community, guess who wrote all the books that they're learning out of, read out of? And they're trying to pretend that somehow that there's no difference between the descendant of the slave master and the descendant of a slave. That is an insult to Black folk. I cannot believe that they create these schools, and people say, Dr. Anderson, why aren't your books in the school? Because for a simple reason, that whites make up the book selection committees. Even in the Black universities, whites make up the selection committee. Whites own all the bookstores on Black campuses. 67% of all the professors in Black colleges, they're non-Blacks. Somebody's BSing Black people, and it just blows my cotton-picking mind. They say, well, Dr. Anderson, we can't find your books. No, because you ain't got enough backbone. You don't demand a damn thing. But if you're going to be a part of this Us Too movement, you got to quit compromising and going for the doctrine of unequal exchange, start demanding. No, in every school, in the elementary schools, and then we do have some schools that were doing it, like the Marcus Garvey Academies and the Malcolm X Academy. They were using the Two Dirty Little Secrets book. because in those Dirty Little Secrets books, there's over 1,000 factoids, short stories about Black achievement that never been known to anybody. Those two books alone, those two academies were using Black books. They're using in the elementary school for history books because nobody else would teach Black history. And yet, right now, I go to any Black college campus and they can't get my books in there. They say, well, we don't want those kind of books that Anderson talking about in the campuses. And no Blacks go said, my kid's not going to your school if Dr. Anderson's books are not in the library. So you know what I said? I'll create a library pack. I'll put all 5 of those books. They can get all 99 for $99, get all 5 of those books and put them in their own house. So if you don't have the library pack in your house, in your library, in your school, then you don't have a library or a school worth a damn.
Mm. Well, you know, I think that's so interesting because a lot of, you know, this week we've been talking a lot about Morehouse College, and there was a billionaire that went there named Robert Smith, and he actually gave a commencement speech. I don't know if you heard about Dr. Anderson, but
yeah, I heard about it.
All the student loans of all the students, and you're right. I can't imagine going through life as a Black man trying to get ahead without understanding Powernomics principles. Every Black man on this earth should memorize Powernomics principles more than they memorize their favorite rapper. There's no rapper on this earth, including Tupac, whose lyrics you should know better than the lyrics of Dr. Claud Anderson, because that's the type of rap you need to hear in your ear if you want to get ahead as a Black man. If you ain't hearing the right kind of music, then you're gonna be tap dancing and to the wrong tune for the rest of your life. You know, you're gonna be soft shoeing for white folks until you're old and gray. Because I'm gonna tell you the truth, and this is just me being honest about something that somebody told me. And it's no disrespect to anybody, but I have to be honest. I gotta say it like it is. There's a man named Sharif Abdul Malik, who's a young man. He's about 27 years old. He created a company called We Buy Black. Anybody know Sharif or know about We Buy Black? It's a massive company. It's kind of almost like the Black Walmart on the internet now. They're really doing amazing things and making millions of dollars and everything. And he built this with his bare hands by himself with a small team. Well, anyway, Sharif was a student at Morehouse, and not Morehouse. I'm sorry, not Morehouse. Scratch that. It was Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sharif, you know, he grew up. He knew how to be an entrepreneur because he learned it from his daddy. His daddy never went to college, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But his daddy knew how to go out here and make a dollar, you know. And so Sharif just knew naturally how to be an entrepreneur because that was his family culture. So Sharif, but he was a social worker major in college or something like that, sociology. So he goes over to the business school thinking, okay, if I go over to the business school, I can really learn, you know, even more about how to start a business. He said, I was blown away by how many business majors at Howard knew nothing about starting a business. All they knew how to do was go work for somebody else's business. So he said, I didn't learn that. I was teaching them stuff, you know. So it almost seems to me that when you talk about the HBCUs being misguided and not incorporating Powernomics sorts of ideas for their students, it's almost like they're setting them up for slavery or failure or something like that. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, it's ironic that you bring that up. I went to a shoe store right around the Washington, D.C. area. Coming out of the shoe store, there was a guy standing behind me, a Black guy, very tall Black guy. He walked out and ran and catch up with me. He said, Dr. Anderson, he said, I'm an instructor at Howard in economics. He says, he said, I read your books. And he said, but nobody else on the campus ever talked about them. Howard has never, in Washington, D.C., where you live in, Howard has never invited you on the campus. So he said, I teach economics at Howard. He said, and I went out and read your books. I said, damn, Anderson's right on the point. And I'm reading white books teaching Black kids economics at Howard, following white admonishments where all the wealth is contained in the white community. Dr. Anderson told us that in the book, that 99% was originally there. 87% of the wealth and power is frozen in the white community. And Anderson showed me that. He said, I quit right then. When I started, he said, I bought, I think he has either 2 hotels now, Raul. He said, I learned from your book. I went out and got me a couple of friends. We own 2 hotels around the Washington, D.C. area now. He said, your book, he says, he said, nobody tell, he said, I've been teaching at Howard, teaching economics. And he said, I know for a fact, I've been there for years. Not one time did anybody at Howard say, why don't we bring Dr. Anderson over here or support him in anything? And I said, I understand that. I said, that doesn't bother me. I said, because if I were white, I wouldn't want any white Black kids who are reading your books. He said, because we're in a competitive relationship. That's what race comes from. Race means competing, whether it's an automobile race or bicycle race or horse race. You're competing. and ain't no damn equality in no race. He said only black folk are taught you got to go out and get some equality and equal opportunity. You got to be a fool in a race. I'm going to the racetrack. Said I'm gonna put $100 on this horse. I want this horse to come in with have an equal opportunity, come in equal to the rest of the horses. He said all your books explain all the stupidity, and he said you got black leaders, politicians up there filling their butts from a hole in the ground, taking black folks back. We got to look for the whole world. We can't. Black folk can't have a self-interest, and you don't want to say no. You put your own interest first. And I love black folk, and I don't worry about losing any friends. You know why? In my age, I could give a damn less. I don't go on through it. I'm not trying to make no damn friends. And so I've done that all my life. And one thing that whites have told me, from governors to presidents, they said, Dr. Anderson, one thing we appreciate about you is that you always tell the truth, and you do stick